Famous people who passed away in 1740. This is the second part. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Alexander Spotswood. He was born in December 1676 and he died in June 1740. His age was 63 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Spotswood was a British Army officer, explorer, and Lieutenant Governor of colonial Virginia. He is regarded as one of the most significant historical figures in British North America colonial history. After a brilliant but unsatisfactory military career, in 1710 he was nominated colonial governor of Virginia, a post which he held for 12 years. During that period, Spotswood engaged in the exploration of the territories beyond the western borders, of which he was the first to see economic potentials. In 1716, he organized and led an expedition west of the mountains known as Knights of the Golden Horseshoe Expedition, with which he established the Crown's domination over the territory between the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Shenandoah Valley, thus taking a decisive step for the future British expansion to the west. John Abasi. He was born in October 1680 and he died in December 1740. His age was 60 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Abasi was a Presbyterian minister known for advocating for freedom of thought in religious beliefs and opposing orthodoxy. In his 13th year, John Abasi Jr. entered the University of Glasgow, and on concluding his course there went to Edinburgh, where he soon moved into the most cultured circles. Returning home, he was licensed to preach from his presbytery before he was 21. In 1701, he was called to accept charge of an important congregation in Antrim. After an interval of 2 years, mostly spent in further study in Dublin, he was ordained there on 8 August 1703. He became a noted debater in the synods and assemblies of his church and a leading evangelist. Richard Boyle, 2nd Viscount Shannon. He was born in May 1675 and he died in December 1740. His age was 65 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Boyle played a key role in military campaigns in Ireland and served as a prominent figure in Anglo-Irish politics. He was a British Army officer and statesman after serving as a junior officer at the Battle of Boyne during the Williamite War in Ireland and at the Battle of Landen during the 9 Years' War. He commanded a brigade of grenadiers during the storming of Vigo during the War of the Spanish Succession. During this engagement, the entire French fleet under the command of the Marquis de Chateauneuf, together with the Spanish galleons and transports under Manuel de Velasco, were either captured or destroyed. He also took part in a successful raid on Barcelona 3 years later. He went on to serve as Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Irish Army throughout the 1720s and 1730s. Charles VI, Holy Roman Emperor. He was born in October 1685 and he died in October 1740. His age was 45 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was food poisoning. Charles VI secured the succession of his daughter Maria Theresa through the Pragmatic Sanction, influencing European politics for decades. He was a Holy Roman Emperor and ruler of the Austrian Habsburg monarchy from 1711 until his death, succeeding his elder brother Joseph I. He unsuccessfully claimed the throne of Spain following the death of his relative, Charles II. In 1708, he married Elizabeth Christine of Brunswick-Wolfenbüttel, by whom he had his 4 children: Leopold, Johann, Maria Theresa, Maria Anna, and Maria Amelia. 4 years before the birth of Maria Theresa, faced with his lack of male heirs, Charles provided for a male line succession failure with the Pragmatic Sanction of 1713. William Wendam, he was born in 1688 and he died in July 1740. His age was 52 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was an accident falling from the horse. Wendam was a prominent member of the Tory party, known for his leadership in Parliament and his opposition to Robert Walpole. He sat in the House of Commons from 1710 to 1740. He served as Secretary at War in 1712 and Chancellor at the Exchequer in 1713 during the reign of the last Stuart monarch, Queen Anne. He was a Jacobite leader firmly opposed to the Hanoverian succession and was leader of the Tory opposition in the House of Commons during the reign of King George I and during the early years of the King George II. Both his sons became earls, and his daughter Elizabeth Wendam was both the wife and mother of prime ministers, namely George Grenville and William Wendam Grenville, respectively. He built the pier at Watchet Harbour near Orchard, Wendam. Piers Butler, 3rd Viscount Galmoy. He was born in March 1652 and he died in June 1740. His age was 88 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Butler was an Anglo-Irish nobleman. He was descended from the 10th Earl of Ormond. He was the son of Edward Butler, 2nd Viscount Galmoy, and Eleanor White. In 1677, Lord Galmoy took the degree of LL.D. at Oxford under James II of England. He was Privy Councillor of Ireland, Lieutenant of the County of Kilkenny, and Colonel of the 2nd Regiment of Irish Horse. Serving as part of the Jacobite Irish Army, he commanded a regiment at the Boyne and served with distinction at Orem. He was one of the signers of the Treaty of Limerick. At the Glorious Revolution, he might probably have secured his old estates of 10,000 acres in Kilkenny and 5,000 in Wexford. Thomas Baker, he was born in September 1656 and he died in July 1740. His age was 83 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Baker was a historian and antiquary, noted for his efforts in preserving manuscripts and promoting historical scholarship. He was the grandson of Colonel Baker of Crook, Durham, who won fame in the English Civil War by his defense of Newcastle upon Tyne against the Scots. Thomas was educated at the Free School of Durham and went on to St. John's College, Cambridge, where he later obtained a fellowship. Lord Crewe, Bishop of Durham, collated him to the rectory of Long Newton in his diocese in 1687 and intended to give him that of Sedgefield, with a prebend had not Baker incurred his displeasure by refusing to read James II's Declaration of Indulgence. John Senx, he was born in 1678 and he died in December 1740. His age was 62 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. Senx was a renowned geographer and publisher known for producing high-quality maps and atlases in the 18th century. He was also an astrologer, geologist, and geographer to Queen Anne of Great Britain, editor and seller of antique maps, and most importantly creator of the pocket-sized map of the world. He owned a business on Fleet Street in London, where he sold maps. He was one of the principal cartographers of the 18th century. He started his apprenticeship with Robert Clavell at the Stationers' Company in 1692. Senx is famous for his maps of the world, some of which have added elevations and which feature minuscule detailed engravings. Many of these maps can be found in museum collections. Rarely copies are available for private sale. Anna, Empress of Russia. She was born in January 1693 and she died in October 1740. Her age was 47 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was kidney disease. Empress Anna served as regent of the Duchy of Courland from 1711 until 1730, and then ruled as Empress of Russia from 1730 to 1740. Much of her administration was defined or heavily influenced by actions set in motion by her uncle, Peter the Great, such as the lavish building projects in St. Petersburg, founding the Russian Academy of Science, and measures which generally favored the nobility, such as the repeal of a primogeniture law in 1730. In the West, Anna's reign was traditionally viewed as continuation of the transition from the old Muscovy ways to the European court envisioned by Peter the Great within Russia. Anna's reign is often referred to as a dark era. Samuel Ven Fels. He was born in March 1657 and he died in June 1740. His age was 83 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a prominent Swiss theologian who contributed to the development of rational theology in the Reformed tradition. In 1685, he became professor of Greek at Basel. In 1686, Ven Fels undertook an extensive journey through Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands, one of his companions being Gilbert Burnet. In 1687, he was appointed professor of rhetoric, and in 1696 became a member of the theological faculty, occupying successively, according to Basel custom, the chairs of dogmatics and polemics, Old Testament and New Testament. Ven Fels received a call from the University of Frankfurt, but rejected it. In 1722, he led a successful move to have the Helvetic consensus set aside in Basel as divisive. Theophilus of Courte. He was born in October 1676 and he died in June 1740. His age was 63 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. An Italian Roman Catholic priest and a professed member from the Order of Friars Minor. He became known for his preaching and evangelization efforts and acted as a reformer in establishing houses for the Franciscans in northern Italian cities and throughout Corsica Island, where he was born. He was known for his cheerful demeanor and his willingness to assist others, while also known for his tireless dedication to silence and solitude, which he exhorted his fellow fares to exercise in order to better commune with God. He was beatified in 1896 and was canonized as a saint on 29th June 1930. The cause for his canonization opened after his death in 1750, and Pope Benedict XIV named him as Venerable. Johann Philipp Baratier. He was born in January 1721 and he died in October 1740. His age was 19 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was tuberculosis. Baratier was a German scholar, a noted child prodigy of the 18th century. He published 11 works and authored a great quantity of unpublished manuscripts. His father carefully conducted his early education, usually eschewing direct instructions for more stable methods of teaching. He taught him in this manner to be able to read words at the age of 3, only after which he introduced him to book reading. His father then taught him Latin by gradually incorporating more Latin in his conversations with him, so that by his 4th birthday he was as familiar with Latin as he was with his native French and German. At the age of 4, his father began to teach him Greek, and by the end of 15 months, at the age of 5, he was reportedly able to translate the historical books of the Bible from Greek to Latin. Princess Magdalina Augusta of Anhalt-Zerbst. She was born in October 1679 and she died in October 1740. Her age was 60 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. Magdalena Augusta was notable as the mother of Catherine the Great of Russia, shaping the upbringing of one of history's most influential rulers. She was by birth a princess of Anhalt-Zerbst and by marriage a duchess of Saxe-Gotha-Altenburg. She was the maternal grandmother of George III of the United Kingdom. She was born Princess Magdalena Augusta of Anhalt-Zerbst. Her father was Karl of Anhalt-Zerbst and her mother was Duchess Sophia of Saxe-Ven Fels. In 1696, Magdalena Augusta married her first cousin Frederick II, Duke of Saxe-Gotha-Altenburg, who had become Duke in 1691. The Duchess' letters to her husband, Captain Gotha Library, bear witness to a loving and happy marriage. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.